Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good
Can
evening,
you all
sir.
hear me and see my screen clearly? Okay, so good evening, everybody. You're welcome to this week's technical forex outlook for the 8th to 12th of August 2022. So I welcome everybody. So without taking so much of your time, let's look at what we have on the fundamentals. Next week is not so heavy and not so light. On Wednesday, we have high impact USD news, that's CPI. Then on Thursday, we have PPI. Then we have GDP for pound on Friday. That's going to be a real mover. So that's what we have for this week. Monday, very light. Tuesday, almost no major news. Then it's from Wednesday. So with that said, let's get down to business. So for this week, we're going to be going through US 100, that's NASDAQ, the dollar index, EURUSD, GBPUSD, gold, euro, pound, pound CHF, pound yen. So let's get down to what we have for this week. So we're going to start off with the NASDAQ or the US 100. So looking at this from the weekly time frame, this is your dealing range on the weekly time frame, this high to this low. That's the dealing range. And what we're looking at is a retracement confirmed by a break above this level. That tells us that this retracement on the weekly is already in motion, because if price had come to this point and dropped, then that means we might see a lower price. But since price has broken above this, there's a possibility that price may drop to give a higher low and then continue to the upside. But for this, on the weekly time frame, this is your dealing range. It's still bearish because we have a break of this significant low here. So this is more like a retracement on the weekly time frame. So we're going to now go down to the daily time frame. If we go to the daily time frame, this pair is bullish on the daily time frame. Although the overall dealing range seems bearish, but if you look at this high, this was the high that broke this low. Price has already closed above it. So for this pair on the daily time frame, we have a bullish situation. For this pair, we have a bullish situation. Price is within this bearish order block for now on the daily time frame. So there's a possibility that price may drop a bit, then continue to the upside on the daily. But for this pair on the daily, we are looking at a bullish scenario. And if you look at it on the 4-hour, that's what we have. So there's a possibility that there might be a retracement before a continuation to the upside. So for the NASDAQ, looking to buy dips will be a safer option. Then the next one we're going to be looking at is the dollar index. So for the NASDAQ, by the time you're done with your annotations, your chart is going to look something like this on your 4-hour time frame. These are the most significant levels you have on your 4-hour time frame by the time you're through with your annotations for NASDAQ. So the next one we're going to look at is the dollar index. So let's start from the weekly. So if we look at this pair from the weekly, this pair is still bullish. Why? This low was used to break this high. So we can basically say long term, this low here, this is your swing low. This is your swing low, and this is your swing high. We get long term, this the swing low here, and this is the swing high here, long term on the dollar index. So what we just had is a little bit of retracement. So let's see how far this retraced from this to this. You see, it has touched the equilibrium and bounced. So there's a possibility this may continue to the upside on the weekly time frame. So on the weekly, this pair still has a bullish bias on the weekly time frame. So if we go down now to the daily time frame. Hello, can you guys still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So if we go down now to the daily time frame, this is your dealing range. We could use this point because this is the move that broke this high. Then this is your dealing range high. And as you notice, price is still retracing within that range. So if we use this daily dealing range, we have something like this. We can see that price has come down to 70.5%. But we don't have a higher high yet on the dollar index. But we might be seeing it this week because if you look at this setup, a network and trading view seems to be having. Hello, can you guys still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes.
This looks like, you remember last week I was talking about this bullish order block. I said that since it is twice the range, this bullish candle is twice the range of it. There's a possibility that if price dips in, there's going to be a rally. And if you look at Friday's candle, with also the news, it closed as a bullish order block. So there's a possibility that price may retrace a bit, then challenge these highs going into this new week. So on the daily, the dollar index, there's a possibility we may see a corrective rally. If we come down to the 4-hour time frame, that if you look at the 4-hour time frame now, this is what I was talking about. There is no new significant higher high. But although we have something here, a break of this structure here on the 4-hour. So this was a retracement and a rally. Price didn't close above this high. So there's a possibility this imbalance, there's a 4-hour imbalance here, fair value gap here to here. So price may try to close this and continue to the upside. So for this week, going into the new week, dollar index has a bullish, is tilted to the upside. So the next pair we're going to look at is the Euro USD. So looking at the Euro USD, so let me look at the dollar index. Sorry, I did not. Where's my chart? Okay. So if you look at the dollar index, by the time you're done with your annotations, this is what you're going to have. You're going to have something like this. By the time you're done with your annotations on dollar index. So the next one is sorry. No, please. Euro USD. So the next one we're going to be looking at is Euro USD. My network seems to be a bit slow. Network seems to be a bit slow. So next we're going to look at is the Euro USD. Hello, are you guys still there?
Yes, we're here, coach.
So if we look at the Euro USD, on the weekly, we have a downward move. Euro USD on the weekly, we have a downward move. This is your dealing range on the weekly. This high, to this low, because this high was used to break this low. So that's your dealing range. Now, if you go down to the daily time frame, now this is the deal with the daily time frame. The daily time frame has been consolidating. It has been consolidating. There's a swing high here. There's a swing high here. Price has closed above it. And then you have fair value gap on the daily here to this point. So as you can see, price has been consolidating on this pair. So after taking out this high, taking liquidity here, if you notice, it didn't close above it. Price didn't close above it. It just came back down. So for the Euro USD, I would say it might see a little bit of more continuation to the downside to gun for this low here, as my opinion. It might retrace a bit, then move back lower. So on the daily time frame, it's ranging. Very, very clear on the 4-hour, as you can see. It's heavily ranging on the 4-hour. So the best play on this pair is to look for the extremes. And how are you going to do that? This is your range low. This is your range high. So you can pick your fib, something like this. No, this is not the one I'm looking for. Try. Sorry, there's one I'm trying to find that has my so better still, let me just do it this way. This is equilibrium here. So when you have the equilibrium, you split this equilibrium into two zones. There's a fib I have that did it. That's what I'm trying to find. There's a fib I have. I didn't label it. Yes, this is it. This is the fib. So if you look at this zone, this is that zone now. If you look at price bounced off the midpoint of this equilibrium. That's at this 75%. So if you're looking for a long, wait to see what price does at this level. Then if you're looking for shorts, because this pair will still move back, wait for it to rally back up. And where is it going to rally back up? Into this fair value gap. There's a fair value gap from here. From this point to this point. So if price rallies back up into this fair value gap, that's if price does this and gets rejected, then you wait for something like this, then you take a short position here. But if price drops here and gives you something like this, then you know it's going to go back to the upside. So that's what we have on the Euro USD. It's basically in a range. So you just use your fib to know which part of the range you are in. So where price is now is not where you want to be taking a short position. You need to wait for it to rally back up into this area. If it gets rejected, then you can take a short position. So at the time you're done with your annotations, this is what you will have on your Euro USD. So this will be your first point of interest. If price gets rejected from here, then price might move lower. But if price breaks above this, then you have this next area to serve as resistance. So the next one we're going to be looking at is GBPUSD. So looking at GBPUSD, let's look at it from daily time frame. Dealing range on this pair is between this high to this low on the weekly. So as you can see, the daily range is bearish. You have a high, you have a lower low. So this is more like a retracement on the weekly. If you go down to the daily time frame, we have a close above this significant high here. So there's a possibility that price may retrace a bit. Retrace a bit because this pair is still bearish. It's not bullish. It's still bearish. This pair is still bearish. So there's a possibility it might rally a bit, then move back lower. Because if you notice where this pair is sitting above now, there's another blocker. So even though this pair is bearish, you don't want to be taking a short position here. You do not want to be taking a short position here. So if we go down now to the 4-hour time frame, you can see where this pair is. So if you wish to take a short position on this pair, this is your 4-hour dealing range. This high to this low. So you wait for price to rally. So you pick your fib, identify your equilibrium. This is your equilibrium. So if you're looking for shorts, it will be above the equilibrium point to continue back to the downside. Because if you look at this pair, there's already a break of this significant low here. So any rally on this pair most likely will be sold off because you have this imbalance here. So if price gets rejected from here, then price may sweep. You can see equal lows here and this structure point here. So by the time you're through with your annotations, this is what you're going to have on your GBPUSD. So the next one we're going to be looking at is gold. So looking at gold, from the weekly time frame, this is the dealing range on gold. So as you can see, it's bearish because this was the swing high that was used to break this point. Now, if we go down to the daily time frame, we have this high that was used to take out this low. So price has closed above it. Then we have this fair value gap here. So if we look at this, although this pair on the weekly is bearish, on the 1 hour, we are having a bullish retracement, which might still move higher or might move lower. There's this imbalance here from this point to this point. Price may try to come down and fill it then before continuing to the upside because your 1 hour dealing range is this point. Your daily dealing range is this low to this high for now. So if we go into the 4-hour time frame, this is what we have. So now price is within a higher time frame fair value gap on the 4-hour. As you can see, price on the 4-hour is making higher highs and higher lows. So on the 4-hour, you have the bullish bias. So now this is the storyline for the 4-hour. If price cannot go above this fair value gap here on the 4-hour, there's a possibility that already this swing low, price has closed below it. So if price can't go up above this high, you might see something like this, and then you move lower before you then see another move to the upside on this pair. So that's what we have on gold. Although gold is still putting up higher lows, if it can't take out this high, then there's a possibility that price may move lower before continuing back to the upside. So for gold, gold is still bullish. It's still bullish. You'll be looking to buy dips or price feeling imbalance. We have something here. We have an imbalance here. This from the daily. Remember, this imbalance is from the daily. So If price drops here and finds support, it may continue to the upside. So by the time you do your annotations on gold, this is what you're going to have. This is what you're going to have on gold. So this 4-hour fair value gap is going to be a significant point of interest. If price gets rejected from there, then you might see price come down to this level. That's a counter move because this pair still has a bullish bias. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is EURGBP. Hello, are you guys still there?
Yes, coach. We're here.
Good. So looking at
Yes.
looking at EURGBP, just looking at this pair, you can basically tell where your dealing range is. This point to this point. And if you use your fib, price has done almost 62% retracement of this. Has done almost 62% retracement of this. So this pair is bullish on the weekly, but we are in a bearish retracement. The question now is the pair ready to start moving back to the upside? Well, if we come down into the daily time frame, the price is making lower highs and lower lows. So on this daily time frame, this is your dealing range, this point to this point. So this is what we have here. Price hasn't yet got to equilibrium, so that means it's still in discount area. But if we look at this, there's a swing high here. There's this swing high. So the break of this, the close above this swing high on the daily tells us that this retracement might still extend higher. Tells us that this retracement might still extend higher. But if we look at where price is, we have this fair value gap here. We have this fair value gap here. We have this fair value gap. So if we build this, you can see that price is within, it has rejected from the midpoint of that fair value gap. So if we go down now to our 4-hour time frame, what do we have? So there is a possibility that price may drop from here as a retracement. Because if you notice, this is a lower low, this is a higher high. It hasn't yet made a higher low. So there's a possibility this may retrace a bit before moving higher. But if it should rally above this fair value gap, there's this bearish order block here. So I'm more tilted to a bullish situation on this because of this close above these two swing points here. If you notice, this was used to break this low and this low, and price has closed above it. So in and of itself, this is bullish. So any retracement here will serve as an opportunity for higher prices on the EURGBP. So if you have done your annotations on your EURGBP, this is what it's going to look like. This is what you're going to have on your EURGBP. So the next pair we're going to look at is GBPCHF. So looking at GBPCHF, basically, you can see from this pair on the 4-hour, it's in a range. If we go down to the daily time frame, this pair is bearish. 3 weeks to the upside, not a good sign. Not a good sign. So if we look at this pair on the daily, we can basically see this pair is in a range. High and this point. Although we have what looks like equal lows here. Price rallied, couldn't close above this high. Swept liquidity here. So that means this pair is bearish. Most likely, it might be coming down for this point or this point. So if we go down now to our 4-hour time frame, so we have an imbalance between here and here. So what you'll be waiting for is any rally and rejection from this point, then a move into this area here. As you can see, this pair is in a range. It's in an ugly range. So you wait for price to rally here, gets rejected, then move back to the downside. So the next pair we're going to look at is, let me use the yen index. So if you have your annotations on your, by the time you do your annotations on your pound CHF, this is what you're going to have. So the next I'm going to be looking at is the Japanese futures. I'm going to use this to give an overview of yen, which will also cover most yen against all other pairs. So any other pair you're trading in yen, this will give you an insight. So if we look at these futures of the yen, on the weekly time frame, this is your dealing range here and here. On this weekly time frame, there is an imbalance here and here. You can see that price has rallied up to that point. So this pair is bearish for now. On the weekly, it's bearish. We don't know if this retracement on the weekly has ended. So if we go to the daily time frame, now this is where it gets interesting on the daily time frame. We have the swing high here. We have the swing low here. So this looks like a bullish breaker. We have a low, we have a low, we have a high, we have this, and price has done this. So now the question is this pair going to continue down, or will it feel this imbalance here? Will it feel this imbalance here and continue to the upside? That's what I can't see. But because on the 1 hour, this is your new dealing range, this point to this point. If you pick your fib, price is below equilibrium and into this fair value gap here on the weekly, on the daily. So if we look at this on the 4-hour time frame, the 4-hour time frame, although it's bullish, but we still have the break of this swing low points to the fact that should price rally between this point and not take out this high, we might still see a lower correction on price. So there's a possibility that going into the new week, yen may rally before going back down to before moving lower, because on the daily, it's in a bearish setup. It's in a bearish zone. So it may rally. Note this is a bearish order block. This is a bearish order block. So if we go down to the 4-hour time frame, so if you're looking at this, you will note this. If we streamline this, you bring it up to this point here. So if this should rally and get rejected from here, then you might see a lower price below here. So with that in mind, we're going to go to the pound yen. So if we go to the pound yen, on the daily time frame, the pound is more like consolidating above here. So this is an expansion and a consolidation. As you can see, wicks on both sides. This is the dealing range for this pair on the weekly, this point to this point. It hasn't made any significant high or low outside of this range. So the weekly, we can't basically get a trend from the weekly. But if we go to the daily, price has swept this low and this low. Although the break of this point here is significant, this looks like something like a breaker or a mitigation. So there's a possibility that this may still try to rally back up. We have this here. There's a possibility this may try to rally because on the daily, this is your dealing range for the daily, this high to this low. So price may try to rally. If price does not go above 166.33, you may see something like this, a rally, then a move lower. So if we go down to the 4-hour time frame, we have a change of character here. So for this pair, you'll be watching this imbalance, this and this here. So because on the 4-hour, this is your dealing range, this swing low to this swing high. So if price gets rejected from here, if finds support here, then that means you might see higher prices. But if price fails here, then that means it's coming down to test this imbalance. And if it finds support, it's going to move back to the upside. So for pound yen, we're looking at a bullish scenario. For the GBPCHF, bearish, EURGBP, bullish, gold still has a slightly bullish bias. GBP, pound USD, slightly tilted to the downside. Euro USD, downside. Dollar index, there's a possibility it may rally going into this week. The NASDAQ, bullish, but there's a possibility we may see a downside correction. So, do I have any questions before we call it a night? Hello, any questions? So, in the absence,
Sir.
yes?
What did you say is the daily range for gold again?
For gold.
You watch the recording on YouTube. I'll post it on YouTube. So please, I'll post the recording on YouTube so everybody can watch it. Subscribe and like the videos. It will go a long way. So this is the daily range on gold. This is what you'll be watching on gold. The fair value gap on the 4-hour and that's below price. If this gives way, if this fair value gap gives way, then price is going to come down to this point. So I thank everybody for taking their time to attend. I wish you all a beautiful night's sleep and a blessed week ahead. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.